Trump has been working day and night to get the shutdown resolved, specifically by going to Asia and ignoring it. So he's been traveling to Malaysia, and he'll be meeting with Xi Jinping in South Korea. So
this is a big deal. This is like a, yeah.
And I wouldn't even necessarily say this is depressing news. This is just neutral news. So there's also all these trade wars going on. Remember that? Remember how my mugs are going to cost me fucking $100,000 and I don't know what's going to happen with my mugs?
I do recall that, Doug. I do recall. Explain to me why this is a big deal, because they've already met during his presidency this year, right? So why is it the timing with the trade war specifically? Why does this meeting matter so much more than at any previous time? Or
So there's an economic forum that is happening that happens once a year in Asia. So a lot of Asian countries are all there, and that's going to include Trump. So for a while now, there's been this meeting on the docket between Trump and Xi. And while it was not necessarily going to be sorting out the trade war between the two countries, over the past few months, it has escalated, right? So it is just simply the case. There's maybe more context that I'm missing, but as we've seen and talked about, it's just gone back and forth the whole year, right? And so over the past few weeks, two things really ramped up the quote unquote trade war, which is we talked about rare earth minerals.
Yeah.
So China came out and said, we are putting this, basic halt or oversight on rare earth minerals, and essentially showed the rest of the world that we are dependent on China. Like the entire rest of the world is dependent on China's rare earth minerals. They have a monopoly. And then in turn, Donald Trump's response was to say, oh yeah, well, Doug needs to pay $100,000 on mugs now.
That'll teach you, China.
That'll teach you, Xi Jinping. And so he put a 100% tariff on all Chinese goods. That number has been fucking swinging around wildly all year, as we've talked about. But, it was, as of a few months ago, he made a tweet and he did the mission accomplished thing. And he said it's only going to be 30%. And I forget if that adds the 20 fentanyl tax or whatever. It's been changing constantly. But until somewhat recently, it was like, okay, there's a tepid kind of like, we think it's an agreement. It's 30%. It's a lot more than before, but it's 30. And now he, a week or two ago, was like, oh yeah, Xi, it's now 100. And so
yeah, I mean, the framework I saw about this, which is, I think, really interesting, is that this is like the opening salvo of a trade World War III. I want to be clear that I don't think I overstated enough on the last episode how big a deal the rare earth mineral thing is and how powerful it is. So Trump's strategy in most negotiations is he knows that he's the leader of America, the strongest country. And so he feels in all negotiations that he has what you might call escalation dominance, which is like if we're fighting and you go like, oh yeah, and you like flex and I go, oh yeah, and I stand up and you go, oh yeah, and you have a gun. Whoever's got the last thing, at the end of the day, we all know that if I push this too far, you're going to win. And Trump just knows that in general. And so whenever he's in a negotiation with anybody, he throws shit at I'll give you 1,000% tariff. I'll get 100% tariff. He tweets crazy things about their leader. He can throw everything at the wall, knowing that at the end of the day, if push came to shove, he's got escalation dominance. The idea that I saw is that this, for the first time in 50 years, a country credibly has escalation dominance over America because of how dependent everything is on these rare earth minerals, at least right now. Again, long-term, they could find a way off them, but China has prepared for this for years now.
Decades, decades.
Decades.
And I say that just to emphasize, I've seen people on Twitter being like, talking about what I will get into in just a second about these trade deals that Trump is announcing, being like, Trump just checkmated Xi, he just made agreements with this country, and we're going to make our own supply of rare earth minerals. And it's like, you can't just do it. You don't just
turn it on. It's not a key.
You need millions of people who've learned to develop this industry, and there's multiple layers. I forget the exact terminology. It's like, if you want to make gallium, I might be getting specific elements wrong here, but if you want to make gallium, you need aluminum. And you need an aluminum industry. But China controls the aluminum industry, so you have to make it aluminum. It's like, you don't just go fucking like dig it out of the ground and hire somebody out of college.
And additionally, another layer to that I didn't mention on our last episode is that China has put export restrictions and controls, not only on the minerals themselves, but on any of the technology used to refine, process, or mine them that they all create.
Damn.
So anyone building a mine in France or in Australia is buying Chinese technology, and therefore China goes, okay, you can't export that to America. You can't. We control that in the same way that America does for high-end chips.
I was going to say, this is the exact same thing as we do with chips, where we tell that one Dutch company that they can't sell the equipment that makes the chips.
100%. However, rare earth minerals it's just becoming more obvious. It's so embedded in the supply chain of almost everything. I mean, EVs everywhere, everything military created. The magnets that they make are just part of almost any like high-end appliance I can think of. The level of control of the current modern economy with this is really becoming more and more apparent. And so it is showcasing more of the bluster. Like the 100% tariff is not causing China to flinch as much as the rare earth metal is. And so I think from the outside, this could be like, oh, they're going back and forth. But this really is never before seen in our lifetimes and decades before. Like this, they've planned for this, they prepared for this. And we said decades, but especially since the first mini trade war and Trump won, they have been like ironclad forward on reducing any dependency on America they can fire back with.
Yes.
People look for who to blame, and I can give you the little timeline, which is like there was this ongoing trade war. They negotiated it down there like a 30%. It was okay.
And this is all this year, right?
And then America would say they kicked it off by not buying our soybeans. That's what they would say.
Yeah, and we're going to get to soybeans, dude. We're going to get to soybeans.
So they just, out of the blue, basically didn't buy soybeans this year, which is causing, the soybean farmers are in an area of America that is deep Trump, and it's causing a lot of unrest there. That was an escalation on his part. And so he fires back with, we already have export controls on a lot of countries for sending high-end stuff to China. We did secondary export controls, which is now like, it's a massive layer up. So any company doing business with those companies is also on the list, which went from 200 companies on the list to 20,000. So it's like really trying to isolate China in a lot of ways. And so that was the moment China went, okay, we're going to unveil the nuclear. That's when they brought out rare earth minerals, and they did it. It hasn't truly sunk in yet. It's like starting to sink in all these different countries and in America, how powerful and how ironclad they are ready for this.
Yeah, they've got our balls in a Chinese finger trap.
And like even when I'm in the presentation last week, I've been reading more, and it's like they are fucking ready. This is a big deal.
And also, if we go to war with China, we don't have the ability to make any weapons.
All of the weapons are made with these minerals and in factories in China. It's just unsustainable to do. We're not going to go to war with China, God forbid. But like it actually is impossible because it's
another thing in the escalation war of like even if we go to war with China and we have our awesome fucking military, whoopsie daisy, all of our stuff is made with Chinese resources and minerals and
even if you were to go to war with a Chinese ally, like if you decided to fight a war against Russia, let's say just outright ignoring all of the consequences that come with that, then China has such ability to impact your success in that war, no matter who you're fighting against.
It's happening now with, Ukraine, Russia. Again, drones are such a big part of it. China leads in drone technology, and they can produce so much more.
Is this the first time that you're saying that this is the first time that the U.S. is really getting a taste of its own medicine on this front, at least since World War II, right? Because in the wake of World War II, you've sort of intentionally structured a global economic system around your country being the dominant economic player, consumer base,
military
having
power,
control of all the levers that let you go into these negotiations and arguments with other countries and essentially bully them out of any situation that you really want to put your foot down on. And now this is the first time that the US is encountering a situation since then where another country has the upper hand.
It is. It is the first time in our lifetimes and beyond, 50 plus years, that this has happened. And it really is a shifting of everything that the world order has been built on and understood. Again, the countries that don't have that, which are not China, have in the end, we've talked a lot about the insanity of Trump's tactics, but many of them have in some ways caved. Like countries that have US military bases in them, like Japan, pretty much all of them have in the end, like the new PM of Japan, Takaichi, is like, let's go Trump. And the trade deals are broadly at least even, or maybe in the US's favor. He's getting, I don't think the tariffs are a good idea in general, but he's getting the ones he wants. But China is just flat out ready for it in a way that I don't think he's prepared for. I don't think his strategy works well against, because they've done too much long-term prep for this.
It seems like the entire world didn't realize, whoopsie daisy, we've let a critical component go entirely to China.
Yeah, the chaos in Europe.
As much as I would rather none of this is happening from like a very kind of neutral third party, it's fucking brilliant. Like, oh my God.
The game theory of it is crazy.
Right. China has successfully established itself as a world power that has our balls. And it's like, it's kind of incredible.
When you get outplayed in a game you're playing, and the play is, it's just such a savant move, and you're kind of like, damn, this is kind of sick.
Yeah. And this is what, dude.
It's not fun to be on the other end of the stick, but it's interesting.
There's a part of me that's glad because you can just tell the arrogance with which our country has been led in our lifetimes. And for the people in power to realize, hey, you don't just get to coast off the entire world. You can't just make the rest of the world pay for our mistakes. There are other actual competitors. Like while I certainly do not want any kind of war of any kind, like there's a part of me that's going, okay, maybe we'll get our shit together a little bit as a country because we realize we can't just coast
100%.
forever.
I mean,
Like,
that's the constant theme that we've brought up time and again, right? It's some sort of crisis where this finally is such a prominent issue because you're facing the consequences of it that people take steps to remedy it.
Yeah.
Finally, build out the infrastructure that you need or the supply chain that you need to combat this leverage.
I mean, we have
but
that-
it'll take presumably decades in return.
Yes.
That book Breakneck. I mean, it really is about how we have consistently offshored all manufacturing capability to China, including the ability to manufacture and refine rare earths. And this is the wake-up call, if anything is.
Breakneck does a really good job of breaking down what the author just calls process knowledge. The idea that as we've lost manufacturing over the years, or as we've lost certain industries, not just to China, but to different countries all over the world, right? Wherever that industry may have shifted, we not only lose, the jobs that came with that factory, or maybe this single industry, you lose all of the components and factories and industries and the way they interact and teach people different skill sets. You lose this web of knowledge that allows you to quickly build new things or quickly add on new industries in reaction to things like this. But we're so far behind now that when you try to build something like a supply chain for refining rare earth minerals, you aren't able to because you don't even have the in-between sort of industries that give you the people or the knowledge necessary to build up that new supply chain.
Unlike previous trade wars, quote unquote, China has real teeth and is showing it, and the world is going, holy shit, wait a minute, what the fuck? US can't just come in and stomp all over them like normal. So we've talked about the escalation. This is going to be happening in South Korea in a couple days. Leading up to this, so very recently, Bloomberg article talked about how in the last couple days, Trump has announced trade agreements with Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam. They are super one-sided for the US. We're going to keep tariffs on these countries. Again, new tariffs that were imposed this year by Trump. And those countries are removing the tariffs that they have on American goods. And they're agreeing to pay for buy billions of dollars of stuff from America. And that's it. So it's just a pure one-sided. Multiple people are just like, this doesn't seem to have any clear benefits to these Southeast Asian countries. So going into this big negotiation with Xi to try to de-escalate things, he basically said, we just locked things in with these countries and the US is stronger than ever. Look at what we just did. So that's one piece. That's like the last
This is one piece.
Yeah. That's the last 2-3 days. And so going into this meeting, in theory, they'll talk it out and they will both de-escalate all this shit because 100% tariff on China is insane for the US. And if China actually stops exporting rare earth minerals, the whole world goes crazy.
Doug refreshing the New York Times to see if he's going to have to pay for his mugs.
Yeah, seriously. So other things that are notable.
I want to be clear. If they actually cut off rare earth minerals,
right,
it would be World War III. I'm not kidding.
Absolute panic. Yeah.
It would cause economic fault lines collapse, stock market collapse. It would right now what they're doing is export controls where you have to apply for it.
They're just proving we can do this.
They're grabbing your balls but not squeezing them.
Yeah. So they like Xi as just big, and you realize, holy shit, those are muscled hands. Those are big.
You can feel the power. But
right. The heat is emanating from an inch away. Like it's
yeah.
And you had no idea. You didn't realize he was building up this much muscle the last couple of years.
Imagine he's in a fursuit for Aiden. Imagine he's like wearing
and he's whispering in my ear.
It's like growling.
So a couple things Trump is going to try to do. First off, he's going to try to get this rare earth thing de-escalated because that's disastrous. But again, at the same time, he's trying to set up trade negotiations with other countries to start recreating these industries. Does that work in the next 20 years? No, like we just said, but it's something. There's also tariffs on Chinese cars. So for the past, 4 years now, America has had a 100% tariff on Chinese cars. Mm-hmm. China really doesn't want that. We still are the most lucrative car consumer base in the world. China would love to get into that industry. So it's a potential thing that we can give up a little bit that Trump could say, we'll reduce those tariffs if you buy our soybeans again. So the soybeans have completely stopped. China won't buy our beans. They will not buy our beans. And they just started doing that this year, like we talked about. Turns out I looked into this, and this is from a very neutral third-party source called the UnitedSoybean.org. I was like, how many people really grow soybeans? Come on. There's 500,000 individuals who are involved with soybeans, including 223,000 full-time people. So, and then there's a lot of economic impact.
Our country's so damn soy.
Yeah. Actually, we're not because we don't buy it.
We export it to China.
We actually are not very soy.
Was
We're
being
getting too
soy
strong.
based all along?
Oh, bro.
And me in my One Piece hat. Welcome to my analysis.
So the soybean farmers desperately want this to end because, again, China has been buying our soybeans up until this year when Xi was suddenly like, nope, no more beans. And so they're freaking out. That's something to leverage. There's also hostages that Trump is trying to get released. Most notably is Jimmy Lai, who is a Hong Kong businessman who pushed for democracy. He's this very famous sort of, he created a newspaper in Hong Kong, incredibly successful. It was the most successful pro-democracy newspaper. He's a billionaire, tons of success across Hong Kong, and has been very critical of China. He was imprisoned by the Chinese government in 2020. He's been in prison since. The allegations are clearly bullshit, and it's just because he is a political dissident, and he's in solitary confinement right now. He's like a Hong Kong hero, and he's just in solitary confinement in China. So there's real pressure. Trump has himself said several times that Lai's freedom is, in quotes, on my list for this meeting, and told Secretary Scott Bessent to make his freedom part of the trade negotiations. There's all these weird things going on. And in theory, we come out of this and everybody says, yeah, we're good now, and it'll cool off for a month or whatever. But in 3, 4, 5 days, we're gonna see what is actually happening with this. Because if it escalates, that's really scary. But knock on wood, nobody actually wants this. Nobody actually wants this.
Neither side wants. It would be bad for China too. It's not
right. No one wants this, but there's tension.
Different, and it's hard because it's hard to trust Trump's negotiating style when you finally run into something that you can't. The usual tactic doesn't have you always on top.
He just 4 times went and bullied 4 countries.
Yeah.
Right before this.
And it's worked great those
Substantial
times.
countries. I mean, these are big. Vietnam is a huge economy now. We do a ton of business with them, a ton of trade, and they just fucking caved.
It is going to be interesting to see. I do think my worry is not, my worry is World War III, obviously. My worry is like escalation. My worry in the short term is that he will have a deal that he can sell, which is that he's going to get them to buy soybeans, which they just stopped in order to have this leverage for this negotiation. They can turn them on anytime, they can buy it again. We're going to get soybeans and maybe a prisoner released. And that's the bone we get thrown as part of this trade deal.
Right.
But no fundamental change in our dependency on China. Probably a real chance that we're giving up our defense of Taiwan in some way, like reducing our...
Yeah, that'd be another lever that we could, in quote, play.
So I don't know. It feels like we're going in, as you might have said about Zelensky, with not enough cards. Like it's not, that's what it feels like. But,
yeah.
And I do want to say America still has a lot going for it. The biggest consumer economy in the world, and also the power of the US dollar is still very important. China still holds a lot of dollars, but they've done a lot to reduce their dependency. And this is the first big negotiation where it's different.
Yeah. So Dan Wang, who wrote the book Breakneck, which is, again, phenomenal, he talked about this in the Free Press today and said, even if there is a truce, and then in quotes, this history suggests no truce is likely to be enduring. Both Trump and Xi have shown they are not very good at keeping their word, quick as they are to walk away or renegotiate if they feel like a deal no longer suits them. That's my kind of sense, is this is incredibly important, what happens in 3 days, and also not, because either one of them will change their mind. Like we've seen it change 100 times this year. So unfortunately, you would love it if it's like, this is the day it definitely will settle in one way or the other. And I don't know, man, who knows?
We shouldn't talk about this episode, but little thing for the future. The big next, earthquake point, friction point in this gigantic struggle is Ukraine-Russia, in that, like, if it resolves one way or another, if one side wins or Russia ends up getting, because they made progress in the past few days to a city they thought they couldn't get. If that happens, it is a big shift. Right now, there is a struggle on the European and American side to find continuous sources of money. Everybody's been trying to point the finger at someone else to give them money. Nobody wants to do it. Everyone wants to spend money on themselves. And the money and the shipments to Ukraine have been drying up. And so while they're fighting incredibly bravely and valiantly, and I'm fully in support of Zelensky and Ukraine on this one, it's like, feel like they're getting grinded down. And if that was to end, and aside for the Russia-China Dragon Bear alliance, it's a big shift in how not only NATO and America sees themselves, but how the rest of the global South sees the order of the world, like sees how They see this rare thing and they see how Ukraine-Russia goes, and it changes the tier list. It changes how you see it. The world order shifts after those moments, and it's worth talking about. I mean, we're going to have to follow up on it. Luckily, we're doing it in fucking one-piece outfits.
Yeah.
Well, my
it's just fascinating.
28-year-old
Yeah.
podcaster analysis, I guess I had a question. This meeting off of the back of forming 4 trade agreements with 4 Southeast Asian countries that are heavily favoring the US, I feel like at the same time that you're losing a battle of leverage to China, you're making massive decisions where you sort of blow your load of leverage and push those people away to another side in the future. You're making a decision that in the long run feels like it unravels your ability to have that leverage you're using in the future.
There's a perfect example of that, which is Canada, which is right. Canada should be the closest U.S. ally there is. Just by all geographical and cultural and historical reasons, should be our closest ally. But because we have such a strained relationship with Canada because of this trade war, and because they ran an ad of Ronald Reagan being anti-tariffs during the Dodgers Blue Jays World Series, Trump got pissed, threw another tariff on him. Because of that, yeah, this just happened.
What?
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, during the World Series, it just happened. Canada ran an ad, because it's a Canadian team, the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They ran an ad showing, it's just Ronald Reagan speaking to camera. They just took an old clip of him saying, tariffs they seem good at first, but in the end, they lead to reprisal and reduced alliances and reduced trade.
That was taken out of context.
And that's what Trump said. He's like, it's not real. He's like, it's fake. It's not fake. It's a real quote. Anyway, he threw another tariff on him, and Canada is now in talks with China to get rid of the Canadian 100% EV tariff because that's their leverage, is to go to China. And so like these things I think have consequences. Even if you can get an extraction in the short term, you are pushing people into a system that is proving itself to be stronger. I mean, to me, it's a little spooky because I love my country and I love
you love dominating Canada.
I love dominating
we should be able to
Canada,
dominate them
but
forever.
I wanted a web of connected alliances is a good thing. It makes your country feel safer. It makes you feel more prosperous. It makes you feel like you can travel freer. The idea that, we're headed into a more multipolar world order is multipolar will be okay. Chinese-led one is even spookier. Like it's a thing worth thinking about. So yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think that's the Canadian example is like what might happen in a few years with some of these countries where we've pushed them in such extractive terms.
I'm going to start switching sides, huh?
Meow.
Xi, if you're listening, China's number one. I've been saying it a long time.
Hey, you know what?
Let's talk about one of the ways China's number one, dude. Let's talk about it.